So many of you have been following the fact that Parliament is suspended. The Liberals and the NDP voted to suspend Parliament, but that hasn't stopped the Liberal government from spending hundreds of billions of dollars without parliamentary oversight. Now, we've seen the results of this lack of scrutiny, right? The We Charity scandal with Trudeau and his family has come to light in recent weeks. It has had a lot of media attention, but there's been a lot of other stories. And one that I want to draw attention to you that is just starting to sort of percolate up through the media involves the government looking for a company to provide security screening machines for Canada's embassies abroad. And of course, our embassies are where our diplomatic officials and staff work to provide both services to Canadians who are abroad and also to, work on things like trade or relationships with foreign governments. So these are very sensitive areas. They're, very secured buildings. I've been in some myself. And these pieces of equipment are actually quite vital to protecting Canadian staff, Canadians who are abroad, and they should be treated as such. So it really surprised me when I heard that the government was working with a Chinese company that has been embroiled in an international bribery scandal. It's reported today in an article by John Ivison in the National Post that the government actually put together an agreement to work with a company called, I believe it's called NewTek or NewTek, to essentially get these, get equipment from them. But this, as Ivison points out, is in direct contravention with government procurement rules, where obviously Canada doesn't want to work with companies that have a record of bribery. And of course, this harkens back to the SNC-Lavalin scandal because there's allegations that company has been embroiled in as well too about sort of spurious behavior. So there's a Calgary element to this that I think is really important, and it actually involves somebody in my riding. So there actually was a Canadian company based out of Calgary that wanted to provide this equipment for the Canadian government. Yet somehow the Canadian government went with this company that has been embroiled in an international bribery scandal. And here's the kicker. They actually, in the National Post today, confirmed that they would be able to provide the equipment from a Canadian-based Calgary company, and you know that my community has really been struggling, right, at a lower cost. So why did that happen? There's so many unanswered questions with this, but for me as a Calgary MP, and certainly with so many constituents that are out of work and the government, they're like, oh, you need to diversify your economy while they're shutting down the energy sector. I mean, here you've got a very specialized company that it's making its home in Calgary that all of a sudden can, ostensibly would be eligible to service this need. And the government is going with this company that, it's been speculated whether or not they have ties to the Chinese government and whether or not what the status of this bribery scandal is. So I asked about this in the House of Commons today because the minister and I want to be very clear, the minister is in charge of these things. All of a sudden, now that they got caught, they're like, oh, we're doing a review on what happened. It's really, really weird. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of this on behalf of my constituents. Watch what the minister had to say.
When a request to provide security scanners for Canada's embassies came up, K-Prime Technologies responded. However, instead of working with this company to provide sensitive security equipment, and it's a Calgary-based company, the Liberals went with a company who is mired in a major international Taiwanese bribery scandal and has links to the Chinese government. And here's the kicker, at a higher cost than what my constituent's company would have charged. Why?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for the question. As she will know, the moment I learned about that, we immediately asked the department, Mr. Speaker, to launch a review to make sure that security will be part of our contracting practices. I want to assure all Canadians and my friends in Calgary, obviously, that no purchase whatsoever has been made by Global Affairs Canada with that provider. This was only a frame agreement. I've asked the minister responsible at PSPC to look again at the procurement process for that, and we have launched a review.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Oh, come on. I mean, the minister is asking us to believe that the party that had no compunction going to the walls for SNC-Lavalin when they bribed Muammar Gaddafi's son with prostitutes knew nothing about the fact that they just ignored a Calgary-based company's legitimate bid to provide sensitive security equipment for embassies to a company that, by all intents and purposes, ignores the rules around international bribery scandals. This isn't, oh, we just forgot about this. This is ridiculous. When is that review going to be done? It should have been done ahead of time. I want to see it right away. And will it be made public?
Honourable Minister.
Speaker, I'm very happy to answer that question. As a former Minister of the Crown, she would know well that at the moment that I was made aware of that frame agreement, and I want to reassure people in Calgary and Edmonton, everywhere across Canada, no purchase has been made whatsoever. And I've asked the review. The review is undergoing. There's nothing more important, Mr. Speaker, than the security and safety of our people and our embassies around the world. And security will come first at every time we make purchase, which could be sensitive for the security of our embassies around the world.
The honourable member for...
So, of course, as expected, no answer there, right? And, this is a typical Liberal weasel out of a situation. It's like, oh, we got caught, so, oh, I didn't know about it, or I'm doing a review with no timeline. Let's hope that it gets swept under the rug. This is crazy. I mean, just to be clear, a few observations about this exchange. Number one, this is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's in charge of this stuff. He should have known better, right? So the question of how did this happen is totally valid, and he totally sidestepped it. They also didn't commit at all to making the details of this public. So obviously I'm going to have to dig into this and continue to push on it. The other thing is like, I just have to say this is Calgary MP. So here you've got, a minister who, has regularly, like his government regularly derides the chief source of the Alberta economy, the energy sector, is dirty, and you need to diversify your economy because of all your dirty jobs. So here's a Calgary-based company that wants to provide like X-ray screening machines, and at a lower price than a international-based competitor that's embroiled in a bribery scandal, and they don't do the service. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to talk to our friends in Calgary. Did you hear that? For me, it's kind of like the equivalent of giving my constituency the finger, because, Justin Trudeau will go to all of these sorts of lengths to, go to the wall for SNC-Lavalin. That's why I put it in the question. But when it comes to a Calgary-based company, they pick like this, or they enter into like some sort of an agreement with that like shady company. Like, that's just crazy. So, a prime minister in a government that was focused on national unity and ensuring that every region of the country had equal opportunity would not do something like this, number one. And number two, what about the security element? Like, okay, imagine you're in foreign affairs and you're like, how could that advice go up to them? Like, how did this happen? Like all you have to do is do a Google News search on this company and all this stuff pops up. Like, how did this even happen? There's so many things that just stink to high heaven here. I'm definitely going to be pursuing this, but I just ask you to share this video so that it gets out there. It's really, really weird, to put it mildly. And it's just another one of these things, in closing, that shows why Parliament needs to sit. We need to have this type of oversight. I'd love to do a motion on this issue. I'd love to be able, to compel documents, and I'll try and find ways to do that. But I don't know, guys. Sitting without having Parliament suspended, it's not great. So even if you are a Liberal voter, you should not be supporting the suspension of Parliament through its full functionality, because of stuff like this, the We Charity scandal and more. Democracy still has to happen. I'm going to get back to that right now. Working hard for you. Have a great day.